for the first time in a long time, we welcome live from Chicago, Illinois. And he does it. I think he to level himself down a little bit. He took his tie off. So he's been all ties since going to Chicago. We welcome in our man Marshall Harris.
Now y'all know I don't put the tie on until right before I go on air. So that's just the look. That's
all
what I do.
know is Marshall.
I'm a not tie guy.
He's got ties. He's got like glamour pics. He's brand new headshots.
But check this out though. I feel like he looks a little more menacing now with the filled-in goatee.
That's true.
A little bit more menacing.
Musso's wedding. He looked a little like, oh, Marshall. Okay.
Let me just tell y'all, Joe Musso's wedding was everything you would expect it was.
I believe that.
At Kevin Costner's ranch in Aspen, we were living the high life. I was like, this is what it probably feels like to be D-Lo and KC every weekend.
This guy, come on, man.
I'm not going to speak for Kenny, but I can't think of a reason we'd be partying at Kevin Costner's ranch in Aspen. So.
Last time I checked, y'all partied with big time celebrities and musicians, correct? I'm just making sure I understand the situation.
Well, Rick Ross's house in Atlanta and Kevin Costner's ranch in Aspen, they feel different to me. It's just different. That's all right.
That's fair.
Thanks for joining us, man. We're thrilled to see you.
You're always have it. Whatever you need, I'm here. If I can do it, if I can swing it, I'm gonna be here. Thanks for having me. I think it's a bigger thing to say here.
Always, man. I think the last time we talked to Marshall, he was talking about how De'Aaron Fox wasn't good. I think he called into the show to say
what I said. I said what I said.
I do recall that. You were listening from afar. You were pretty fired up that day.
And I traded him shortly thereafter.
My fantasy team. This was fantasy basketball work, and how do you feel? We've got to talk about Chicago and San Francisco. I know you've been watching from afar. You still got us out here. Yes. Still got Sarah Hodges out here. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the offseason that the Sacramento Kings had?
I think they've had a good offseason, but I've said that before. I thought Dwayne Dedmon was a great pickup. So, yeah, exactly. The way Kenny's shaking his head right now, that's how Kings fans shake their head every time they fall for the banana in the tailpipe in the offseason and the regular season comes. Bottom line is this. They have to win games. I don't care how good they look on paper. I don't care how many points De'Aaron Fox does or does not score a game. They have to play defense, and they have to win games. Holler at me at the All-Star break.
That's a fair assessment. That's what everybody here is saying as well. Marshall, I said at the end of the offseason, you got to end this streak by any means possible. You have to end the streak. You can't be walking around 17, 18, 19 years not being in the playoffs. And that means making a couple of moves that people deem as, they win now. They're going after Kevin Huerter to just get into the play. Yeah, do that, please. You can't be running around 18 years out of the playoffs. Nobody in damn near professional sports is doing something like that. I think they've made steps towards doing that this offseason.
I'll say this, as a long-suffering, but no longer suffering, I should say, Buffalo Bills fans, we had the record at one point for the active streak of all the four major sports seasons without making the playoffs before, of course, Josh Allen came through and ended that. And yeah, you're right. There is a feeling of, man, just wake me up when something happens. And you can look back at the last almost 2 decades now and say, there have been some nice moments for the Kings, but nothing of heavy substance, nothing to celebrate. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Let's shift. You mentioned your Buffalo Bills to talk about the football team you're covering now in Chicago. I'm a big Justin Fields fan. I like him a lot. I don't know what to think of the Chicago team. They don't look particularly good. You're a lot closer to it than we are. What do you think about that Chicago team and Justin Fields entering his second season?
I think they're young. They've got 15 rookies on the 53-man roster, but their defense only has 2 rookie starters, but they're both in the secondary. But could the secondary be any worse than it was last year in terms of blown coverage and giving up big plays? So I think you look at Jaquan Brisker and really the cornerback secondary situation, and this isn't a horrible stepping stone for them from that standpoint. And that, do I expect Trey Lance to come out and throw for 300 yards? If he does, we have problems. So I think it's going to be an interesting game because you've got, two of the top 4 quarterback picks going head to head from last year's draft. And a lot of people do believe, I think you were one of those people who believed, Damian, that Justin Fields was better than Trey Lance.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So
Justin Fields was my favorite quarterback in that draft. Yeah.
It's a chance for some things to get sorted out, because if Justin Fields plays better than Trey Lance, the Niners could still win the game. But if Justin Fields plays better than Trey Lance, the Bears certainly can win the game. And that might be what it comes down to, because I think the defense is going to be good. It's going to be a positive thing for the Bears, because they have a very experienced defense. They've got guys like Robert Quinn, who set the sack record for the team last year. I mean, you have some guys who can make plays. It's just going to – there's rain in the forecast, so it could be one of those ugly games.
What's rain?
What'd you say?
What is rain?
Oh, no. I'm sorry, guys. My bad. What's the temperature there today?
Very cool. 106 is supposed to be the right day. Very cool. It was sad. It was 106, and I was like, I can do that. I can handle that. That's fine.
106 without the park. I got you. But listen, I know this, that NFL's back. And every year we see things happen, especially early in the season. We're like, how did that happen? Mm-hmm. And I think this could be one of those situations where, I'm not saying the Bears are, I think, 6.5-point underdogs, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears won that game. I just think the biggest thing for me is Kyle Shanahan is an offensive mastermind of sorts. They know how to run it. They know how to scheme it. And Matt Eberflus, his whole thing is this hits principle, which is all about creating big plays, running to the ball. It almost sounds gimmicky when you think about like how guys, run to the ball, make big plays or whatever. But it worked in Indianapolis. There's no reason with the talent they have on defense, or the potential of talent on defense, that it can't work here.
When you talk about week 1 and I hear that the run to the ball and everything, it sounds like a sucker for Kyle Shanahan. He is going to misdirection and play action them to death. They're going to overrun plays, and the big plays are going to happen that way. But I will say this, because I like what you talked about on the defensive end. I think the Bears do have some players on the defensive end. Maybe not ready right now, but they got some players on the defensive end. I like Justin Fields as a quarterback. But here's the issue. Everything around him, when we're just talking about week 1 at the very least, everything around him is tailor-made for the 49ers to not allow more than 13 points probably, because there's not enough offensive weapons. Then you're going up against a top 5 defense. You're going up against a potential best defensive line in the game. And the Chicago Bears, from everything that I've seen and heard, is one of the worst offensive lines in the game. And that's a recipe for disaster on Sunday.
They're definitely the wild card here. Like, if the offensive line doesn't hold up, I mean, the game's over before it starts, right? But if the offensive line, it's kind of a wild card situation because of the fact that they've moved some pieces around, and we're not sure scheme-wise what Luke Getsy has up his sleeve, who came from Green Bay to be the offensive coordinator. So it feels like a very much the unknown versus the known. We know what the Niners are outside of the quarterback position, and we know what they're capable of outside the quarterback position. 2 starts last year for Trey Lance? He played in like 5 or 6 games. So there's going to be a learning curve for him, just like there was a learning curve for Justin Fields last year. And I guess there continues to be a learning curve until you establish yourself as that guy. Mm-hmm. So it's just going to be fun to watch, man. I mean, Fields was taken 8 spots after your guy Trey Lance in the draft, so there's kind of something to prove there. Although he says he's glad he got taken, where he's giving you all the lip service. I'm glad that I got passed up by the 49ers and Bears. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. But Darnell Mooney, his top receiver, who we're going to find out very quickly if he is a true number 1 receiver, he says he believes Justin Fields will make the San Francisco 49ers regret not picking him with that number 3 overall pick.
Very good. I like that. I think Justin Fields has potential to be a very good quarterback, but I also think Trey Lance has the possibility of being a very, very good quarterback. The only thing, go ahead, Marshall.
No, I was just going to say, and he has more weapons around him right now.
That's what concerns me. That's my concern for Justin Fields in this. Like, Trey Lance has the opportunity to grow with a really experienced team. Justin Fields got a bunch of other kids around him. Like, they're all trying to figure this thing out together. Whereas with Trey Lance, at worst, you got Kittle and Debo and some of these other guys, Trent Williams, you got Fred Warner, you got them all putting his arm around Trey going, hey, we'll get you there, kid. Don't worry about it. Like, we got you. Whereas Justin Fields, he's looking around, hey, that kid younger than me. This dude over here younger than me. Like, wait a minute, who am I supposed to lean on in this?
Yeah, I think, he had Jimmy Graham last year as, the veteran tight end who was obviously past his playing prime, but obviously he's seen a lot in the game. He can, help out with that. David Montgomery is still young. I mean, you're right. It's a bunch of kids, and we'll find out. It's a situation where we'll find out pretty quickly, where we are. But I can tell you this, they look better and more organized. I know it's preseason, but they just look better and more organized under Matt Eberflus than they did under Matt Nagy last year. So I think people in Chicago are optimistic, even if this season bears out 6-7 wins. They're optimistic about the future because they have what a lot of people believe is the quarterback, and that's the most important piece that you need on a football team at any level. Let's be honest, these days.
Yeah.
We've got to let you go. You're far, far, far busier than you used to be. So we'll get you out on this. Buffalo is like the consensus, like the universal number one team in the power rankings. Oh, you don't want to talk about that? Oh, okay. We don't have to talk about
it. They did change that overtime rule though, so who knows what's possible.
Gosh.
Josh Allen rule. You gotta switch it. They didn't change it. What's that say? They didn't change it for Patrick Mahomes, but they changed it for Josh Allen.
Listen, because it was a dumb rule anyway. I'm just gonna leave you guys with this. I don't get excited about my teams until it's time to get excited about my teams. It's not about the build-up anticipation. It's like, if it's Sunday and they're playing, let's talk about them. Otherwise, you will drive yourselves crazy, especially in the NFL when they play once a week. You'll drive yourselves crazy. Oh, we're so good. We're so good. We're so good. Well, hold on. Let's play some games. Let's see what's really good.
Yeah.
I hope everyone on this screen was listening to that.
It's Sacramento, dog. Nah, y'all have a different circumstances.
We going to the Super Bowl. We going to the Super Bowl.
Trey Lance is taking someone to the Super Bowl, or he's along for the ride to the Super Bowl.
Okay, people sleeping. I'm gonna let them stay sleeping.
But I'm asking the question: is Trey Lance on a ride with the Niners to the Super Bowl, or is he taking them to the Super Bowl?
He's behind the wheel, but it's auto drive too.
Oh, autopilot. Got it.
It's one of them self-driving cars like Kenny got. That's Marshall Harris, CBS Chicago. We appreciate you so much for being with us. We're back with more D'Lo and KC next here on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320. My man, thank you, bro.
I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all doing well, holding up well.
We're still at home. We're still at home.
Are you not getting the studio?
I'm here for D'Lo and KC. The studio's done. It's almost ready. The cameras are on their way. That's the last step, is to install the cameras. But the studio is done. It's in Roseville. It's waiting for us.
And then y'all ain't gonna know how to act.
Oh yeah, no. I already told Kenny I'll probably get fired. I'm not acclimated to being in an office. I'll probably get fired the first week. So.
All right. Well, I'll let y'all do y'all thing. I got to run to a meeting in a minute. So I'll holler at y'all later. All right.
Thanks, brother.
Big dog.